latest stories, Dr. Jones?
Fortune and glory, kid. Fortune and glory.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 1984 Indiana Jones film, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. The film is of course directed by Steven Spielberg and it stars Harrison Ford, Kate Capshaw, Ke-Huy Quan, Amish Puri and Roshan Seth. Now, after reviewing Raiders of the Lost Ark a couple of weeks ago, and then obviously after going to the cinema to see Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, which I do recommend you guys go and check out. It deserves to be doing better at the box office than it is. I did say on my review for Raiders that I was going to revisit all the Indiana Jones films and put reviews up on the channel, which is why we're here with Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Now, this time round, Indy is basically ends up in India after some escapades. He is taken to a village in India where he learns, he's told by the villagers that the people at the local palace have kidnapped the children, stolen the sacred Sankra stone, and Indy sets off with Short Round, Willie Scott, to see what they can do and get these valuable stones back for his fortune and glory. Right, what are my thoughts on Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom? Well, this is the prequel. It's set prior to Raiders of the Lost Ark. Now, a lot of people, and this is not just audience members, even Steven Spielberg is not a fan of this film. I think it's his least favourite Indiana Jones film. I'm not sure if he's revisited that since Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, but we won't go there just yet. I personally am a real big fan of this film. It's probably my second favourite Indiana Jones film behind the first one. I've got fond memories of this for a lot of reasons, but I also like this film because it just feels so different from the others. You know, the setting is completely different. Indy feels different, you know what I mean? You don't see him doing any of his teaching or anything like that. It just feels such a different film compared to the first film. And it's darker themes, and it's very, you know... I remember watching this as a 12-year-old at the cinema and being scared. I just thought Steven Spielberg took this film right to the edge of what was allowed. And interestingly, it's my understanding anyway, this is the film that essentially created the PG-13 rating because it just pushed the boundaries so much. And for many years, the only version of this film that I saw was like the edited version. The film that you see now, the unedited version, you know, when you see him fully pulling out the heart and the guy going all the way down and being burnt alive and the heart setting on fire and other bits and pieces in the film, that was heavily edited, certainly in the UK, and that's the version that I saw, and it still scared me. I just think this film deals with the darker issues, and it does it so well. You really feel that Indy's really out of his comfort zone here. He's very, very dark and evil people that he's dealing with. And all the other films, it's like Nazis. Nazis in the first one, Nazis in the third one. It's not Nazis in the fourth one, but it might as well be. It's the Russians. And then we go back to Nazis in Dial of Destiny. This one just stands out like a sore thumb. It completely, you know, spins, I think, the formula a little bit around and shakes it up. And it's been documented that the reason why this film kind of explores darker themes is that both George Lucas and Steven Spielberg were going through breakups at the time with their wives. Steven Spielberg came out okay because he ended up marrying Kate Capshaw after this film. So he came out of it okay, I suppose. But they were obviously going through a dark time themselves while they were making this film and writing this film and doing whatever they do. And that translated itself to the screen. Harrison Ford seriously injured his back in this film, so they had to halt production at one point for him to recover. And I've got really vivid memories of where I grew up in Yorkshire. I grew up in a place called Heptonstall, which was like on the top of a big hill. The nearest cinema was in a place called Hebden Bridge, which was essentially like at the bottom of the hill, in the town at the bottom of the hill. And it took a good half an hour, maybe longer, to walk down to Hebden Bridge to go to the cinema. And I remember the first time I watched this film, it was with the whole family. We all went to watch it, so we went in my dad's car, etc., etc. Loved it, and then we enjoyed it. We enjoyed it so much. Me, my brother, and sister, who are both older than me, every night for over a week, we basically walked down with his pocket monies from Heptonstall down to the cinema in Hebden Bridge to watch this film, and then walked back up, walked down, walked back up. And in those days, you could do it. There wasn't as much paranoia about kiddies getting pinched and stuff in them days. You kind of did that, and it was fine. And it didn't feel old or tired or anything. I enjoyed every single viewing of this film. I just thought it was fabulous. There's so many high points in this film for me. I remember as a child being disappointed with the way the film opened, especially when you consider how Raiders opened. And this one opened with a dance number, and I don't like musicals. It was a bit like, what is happening here? But then once it got into its swing, and it got to India and stuff, I think that for me, certainly as a child, I mean, I do appreciate the opening much more now. I appreciate the effort that went into it. I do have a lot of affection for how this film starts, with him getting poisoned and wanting the antidote, and then Short Round driving him through the streets. I do enjoy it. The cameo from Dan Aykroyd, and the escape from the plane. I enjoy that far more now than I did when I was younger. I thought the opening was fairly weak when I was younger. I do enjoy it much more now. But when they got to India, it just felt like, oh, feels like it's got all serious now. And then they get to Bangkok Palace, and you feel like, oh, this is all right, actually. You could take a breath, and then they start serving them bugs and monkey brains and stuff that was utter bollocks. They didn't eat them sort of things. It's been completely and utterly debunked, that, you know what I mean, to the point where I think in India I think it was banned for a while because they didn't like the way that their culture was being portrayed in this film. But I think it became available when it became out on videotape. I don't think it was released at the cinema over there. I could be wrong on that, but I think that's the case. But it was just entertaining, seeing. I remember as a kid just being absolutely gobsmacked that, there were monkey brains and eels and bugs and stuff. And just the scene where, Willie faints and stuff was just fantastic and hilarious. And then once you get past that, and then they start exploring the palace and going down, and there's all them bugs that just as a kid just freaked you out. I can't imagine how they actually got through the filming of that. I know Kate Capshaw really struggled with that from things that I've read. But that was just so memorable, And then they found Mola Ram sacrificing the guy, and then the film just kind of explodes from that point onwards. That sense of fear you get when Indy gets taken over by that. He has to drink that liquid and he becomes the bad guy, and then the joy you feel when he comes back when Short Round burns him, and then that fight at the end with the huge guy with the turban, who in actual fact was Pat Roach, who played the German in the first film that he fought at the outside the airplane. Now obviously you wouldn't get away with that these days, blackening him up for the role, but it certainly made for a good fight and a good sequence. And then you've got the mine track sequence that is just so fabulously done. I mean, it's littered with like errors and stuff like that, but it just makes it so fun and exciting. And then it moves on to the bridge scene. That again, I remember just the jaw dropping watching that as a kid when he actually chopped through the rope and it collapsed. Brilliant. And then that exciting finish. For me, it is just a brilliant film. This. It's it's so distinctive and so different from, I think, the other Indiana Jones films that almost, follow a different theme in a sense of is searching for, well, certainly in the majority of them, like recognized artifacts and things like that, or religious artifacts and stuff. And in this one, he seems to be in it for himself. He just wants fortune and glory. So it does feel like it's a different Indy to some degree. A lot of people as well have hated on Kate Capshaw over the years, just thinking that she just screams at everything. I think because they were used to Marion in the first film, who was quite a strong character. I thought the contrast here worked. You know what I mean? The dynamics. You've got this young kid, short round, who again, when I was a kid, I didn't like and appreciate as much. Probably because I was jealous, because I wished it was me that was with Indy and not this kid. But now you could appreciate him as an adult and just see how brilliantly and how great the chemistry was between him and Harrison Ford. Just fabulous stuff. And I thought him and Kate Capshaw had great chemistry as well. Yes, she screamed a lot, but that was the role. It was supposed to be a contrast to what we got in the first film. So I think it's beautifully shot. I mean, Spielberg, I think, he can just knock it out of the park, obviously, with how he can make films look. It's stunning to look at, and I just think it's an absolutely brilliant Indiana Jones film. So for me, this is my second favourite Indiana Jones film. And don't get me wrong, I think when I get around to reviewing the third film, I don't dislike that film at all. I think it's absolutely brilliant. I think the first three films are pretty flawless to a large degree. But if I had to choose which was my favourites, then Raiders would be first, this would be second, and then Last Crusade would be third, and then we'd have a debate about the others that obviously aren't in the same league as the first three. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this review. I will be reviewing in the next week or two Last Crusade as well, and then Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. So stay tuned for that, and thank you very much for watching.